and YouTube will push, and then over
Okay.
time people will watch this, right?
Oh yeah,
So I actually get like a little counter. I don't know if you can see it on yours.
I do. 10
Uh,
seconds, 11.
yeah, but on mine I see a little eye with how many people are actually on.
Oh,
And not very many people show up. The idea is like the more we do this, then I'll be able to say, "Hey, come and check us out at 1 o'clock.
got it.
I'm hanging out with Scott Hill today,"
Got it.
and then we can have some more talk. So, but
Yeah.
we are live, and I want to say, "Hey,
Yes, we
everybody,
are.
thank you for coming in. This is Scott
Oh,
Hill, good friend of mine. Unfortunately, he's Navy veteran.
oh man. But
Got
I
started out right
think
away.
Marines is under the Department of the Navy last time I checked, so it's
We
not
are.
too bad.
It's
We're
only
good, boss.
because we let you be our taxi cab.
That's great. That's great.
No, actually, we have a good friend of mine from San Jose State. He's the director at the veterans organization there. He actually helps veterans come on board to San Jose State, get set up with the GI Bill, and then make sure that they're getting paid and all that stuff. And then they also, they have an area. His name's Robert Davis. He's getting his license. So, and he's Navy, but I bust his chops on it all the time.
Well, he's doing a good service. I like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, our vets they need our help, man. And we were both in the service, and we know so many people that just some of them struggle when they get out. And I think someone that's devoting their at least a good portion of their life to helping our vets is right up there with for me. I just mad love for them doing that.
Yeah, he's a really good guy. And I was just listening to one of my real estate meetings. It was called Marketing Mastermind or something like that. And then brought in some lady who's in San Jose. She's trying out for one of the area supervisors, the council members.
Right.
And homelessness is a huge issue here. And I know from studies that 14% of the homeless are veterans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the people that I that were on the things like, what's going on with the veterans? How come the VA doesn't do more? Well, the VA is available for people to do stuff. If you need help from the VA, yes, sometimes you get countered and sometimes you get bad employees there, but the VA has many articulated arms to help people.
Yes.
But they don't do outreach. Maybe that's something that they need to start doing. But like if you're on homeless, you're on PTSD, you have drug issues, what have you, your job as a veteran is to get to the VA, and then they're supposed to help you. And if not, then we have I have other organizations that can help veterans get help, force them to get help. And if that still doesn't work, then we can go the legal route and force them to get help.
Right.
But it's up to the individual veteran, just like the individual citizen, to go out and know how to get help, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with what you said a few minutes ago. The VA's never really done. I mean, I've been out of the military since '97. That's quite a long time, and you don't really see a lot of advertising,
No.
And we think that vets should just know where to go. Some of them are in situations where they don't know where to turn, even though they probably know something's out there that can help them, or they're dealing with some mental health issues or whatever. But it would be great if someone really and maybe they started it, but to spearhead a way to really get that message out on an easy way for them to get in touch and get the help they need.
Right.
I've yet to see it. Maybe we should figure it out. I don't know, but
what I see with the veterans side, that on the homeless, they're resistant to getting help, right?
Yeah.
I don't want this to be like a total and morose conversation. Sure. We're going to switch this up.
Yeah.
But they have PTSD. They're addicted to drugs.
Yes.
They don't want help. They just want
to get
help, right?
I agree. I see a lot of that.
They spent 4 or 5 years getting yelled at, being told what to do, and that just wasn't right for them, or they saw something horrific.
Yeah.
And I think I was talking about somebody else today. You can lead somebody to help, to get help, but until they're ready, they're not going to get the help,
Yeah.
right? Whether
It's like a drug interdiction. Yep.
exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Same mindset, different tools, different aspects of it. But yeah, I mean, so we can spend a lifetime, you and me, going and chatting with veterans that are on the street, and you might help one or two people. So
yeah.
So Scott, how did we meet?
We met through a very awesome individual that unfortunately has left this planet last year, that we both loved quite a bit. A wonderful, wonderful real estate agent that I was introduced to by another agent a long time ago that he was working underneath, and then kind of went out on his own, and then joined up with you, which was awesome for him. I remember when he told me that he started working with you, and his name was Dan Laguna. He was excited. I remember him saying, "I'm with this awesome team. I work with this guy named Vito. He's great. You got to meet him." He was jazzed, and I thought it was pretty cool. And he was starting to transition away. I think he was in some kind of services business for a while, right? Restaurant services,
right?
And was part-time real estate, and now was kind of going all in, with you and your team. And I've helped a lot of clients of his, helped them get financing over the years. Got to know him, a great man of high character and faith, and just anyone he met, instantly, just fell in love with his personality. He was so caring, so kind. And we lost him last year unexpectedly. And then what kind of brought us together was, ironically, and we met together. I think we did a video thing or two online, at least with a client. I remember we did a Zoom call, but we hadn't met in person until we went to Dan's funeral. And that's where we got to kind of get to know each other a lot, and the military background, and have a lot of the same values. So that was last year.
Yeah. I think about him every day. And he brought so much light to my life and so much joy. We spent hours, just him and me in the office, just talking about all sorts of different things. And, I'm very grateful for the very short time that I got to know him. Wish it was longer, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Lisa and Luke were in town last week, so I took them to lunch.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Next time they do that, I'll let you know. You come down.
Let me know. Let me know. His family is just they're wonderful, wonderful people.
Top-notch people, right? I mean, I got to say that he really opened my eyes to a lot of different things about faith, and opening myself to that part of the world, of the universe. And I'm thankful for that as well. And sometimes I'm angry at the fact that it was only, a short time. I think it was like 18 months if I counted how many months we were together. But it's amazing how I get angry, and then I think, you know what, there was a reason.
Yeah.
This man was in my life for this short time and did such an impactful part of changing my life. And so I'm grateful. I'm sad. I'm angry.
Yep.
But, and then I meet good people like you too. Yeah. So I'm hopeful with that. So
absolutely. I'm fortunate as well. Yes, make sure you keep that promise. If they're in town, let me know. I'd like to get together on that. That would be great.
Yes, sir. So Navy, you were officer, right?
So I was actually enlisted. So I'll let you slide, like a lot of guys. Ironically, you asked that question, which leads me into how I got into the Navy in the first place. And ironically, this Friday, part 2 of the reason. Top Gun came out in '86, so of course I will probably be in the theaters this Friday, going part 2 of why I got in the Navy. Here, I got so enthralled with that movie. I'll give you kind of what a cool movie, right? But I'll give you the short story. My sister ironically went in. She was younger than me by about a year, and she actually went in the year before, a couple years before me actually. I graduated out of Piedmont Hills High School in San Jose in '86. I went to go play football at De Anza Junior College in Cupertino for a couple years. And was pursuing that, but unfortunately, I stayed 5'8", and the Steelers weren't calling for me. So I saw the light, the writing on the wall. I mean, I needed to figure out what I want to do, and I always thought about aviation since I was a kid. And I got excited when that movie came out, and I learned a lot more about the military and the Navy, and was looking at all the different branches. And my sister had gone in the Navy, and it just started really intriguing me. Met with a recruiter, and this is where I got the wrong advice. The advice I should have gotten was he should have listened to me and what my goals were. Instead, he had his goals on his mind, which is get someone into the nuclear power program, big fat bonus waiting for him. And kind of sad because it set me on the wrong trajectory. What he should have said was, Scott, you got 2 more years to get your bachelor's degree. Finish it up. Go straight to AOCS, get a commission and get into aviation. So, that life just takes you directions. And when you're 19, sometimes you think you're getting the right advice when they tell you, hey, this is a good path. Nuclear power program's prestigious. You'll get in. Just tell them that you want to switch over to aviation. It's not a problem. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, never a problem, right?
Yeah, not when they're spending $40,000 to train you for a few months. It doesn't work that well. So anyway, I wound up figuring out how to navigate through that and get out of that program and at least get over to the aviation side instead of being on a submarine or a carrier. And the ability to get into helicopters came up, and become a rescue swimmer and a submarine hunter. So instead of being on submarines, I now get to hunt them from the air, which was pretty cool. And I then figured, all right, then I'll finish my degree and then pursue officer candidate school. Well, then Desert Storm hit, so now I'm heading off. So that's putting off my education. So I got to go do that. The military's throwing a lot at you. They're keeping you busy. It's hard to get a lot of stuff done. Getting a little older, getting into mid-20s. I did actually decide that I was going to join the Army Warrant Officer program to fly helicopters there. Nice. I got accepted to do so. I turned it down. I changed my mind. I just started getting older, more mature, seeing families broken apart, traveling around the world, leaving your family home, some never getting to start a family because you never settle roots anywhere. I just didn't want any more of that, even though I loved all that I was doing and the camaraderie that the military gives you. And I decided to get out after 9.5 years in 1997. Because I really thought, man, am I just going to be an airline pilot? And then that same thing, leaving your family all the time. I'm a very family oriented guy. I wanted to be home. I wanted to coach my kids' sports. I didn't have kids yet. I didn't have a wife yet, but I knew that's what I wanted because that's how I was raised. Very tight family. And so got out of the military in 97. Everyone's telling you, oh, you're crazy. You're halfway through. I'm like, listen, I have what's inside to do what I want to do and be, decently successful at it if I work really hard, even if I'm getting a late start. All my friends had finished college 5 years before, but I knew I was going to be fine. I just needed to figure out what I was going to do. And I fell into lending. And that's what most people tell you that are lenders. They tell you, I don't know what happened, but I fell into it.
Same thing in real estate, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds like a great lucrative career. I can do lots and lots of. And the thing about real estate, I don't know. I don't have the NMLS, the lender license, nor do I want it. But
can't blame you.
For real estate, there's a very low barrier to entry. It's 3 classes, 70 questions on a test or something like that. You have to get a C average to pass. And because of that, it's so easy to get your license, to be responsible for millions of dollars worth of real estate and other people's money. It's precarious and it's dangerous. And I always, since I got my broker's license, I always thought this should be at least a master's level degree.
Agreed.
To be able to operate and sell real estate. And what we see is it's so easy for people to come into real estate. Oh, it's easy. I can make a lot of money. La, 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 la. And they come in and then they're like, oh, it's not as easy as I thought. Yeah. I better start hustling. And then they get desperate and they lie, cheat, stab people in the back, and they give us a bad name. Right. And that's what, I don't know if you know, but I do a lot of community outreach, a lot of stuff. We give bikes for every house that we sell. We adopt a park. I just signed on with this thing called Beautiful Day, where we're going to get together, and I'm volunteering you, by the way. We're going to different places and improving the community, right?
That's
I'm
awesome.
going to a food bank downtown San Jose, and we're going to be painting and landscaping, building some shelving, building a shed, moving a mural, all that stuff, and it helps build the community. And that's us giving back to the community, and we need to do that kind of stuff to better our names. And these people, they come in, they'll lie to you, they'll cheat to you, and they'll tell you whatever they want just to get you into a deal, and then they disappear, and they make it really frustrating for everybody. And I wish that we would take this industry, the real estate industry, and make it a master's level degree before you came in.
You know, I could not agree with you more. And I think it's even more prevalent of knowledge that needs to be attained in my industry, because I just see clients don't know what they don't know. They get emotional. They want to buy a home. And I sometimes have seen, where a client can't afford a home, and so they go get a cosigner. Okay, now the cosigner is going to be able to help them qualify for that loan. But there's a difference between qualifying for a loan and being able to afford a home, And we saw all the problems that happened back in the meltdown time frame in 2008, 2009. And it wasn't all lenders like it got made out to be. And we can talk about that all day long. But what happened was a lot of people got into our industry because what you said, the barrier of entry was too low.
Exactly.
And so you've got lenders coming in going, you mean the client doesn't really have to fill out their income on the application? They don't really have to tell me the truth about how much assets they have?
Ninjas?
Oh, right.
Yeah.
It's zero down. They don't really need a whole lot. They can get it from their friend, And I thought to myself, I'd only been doing loans at that point for 8 years, maybe, enough to start getting pretty good at what I'm doing. And I can tell you to this day, I still do this. When I sit down with a client and have a conversation with them, it's not how high can I get you approved for? It's how high can we go that you're going to be comfortable? The rest
for the next 5-6 years.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And, I would tell people, this isn't right. You have too much debt. And what you don't understand is when you become a homeowner, the responsibility financially on you and the pressures that are going to come is going to be even greater. And if you've accumulated this amount of debt right now, even though I can qualify you, what are we going to do when you have that mortgage payment that's not going to stop and your expenses are going to increase and you still can't get out of debt? Maybe we have to wait a little bit. We got to pay a little debt down, or we've got to figure out another avenue. But I want to follow through with my commitment to making them comfortable so that they have the experience of home ownership that they should have and not be completely stressed out. But there's too many people that just want to get the loan, get the deal done, get them into the home. And that's the wrong approach.
Yeah. I think we've talked about this too. My wife has a little side hustle. It's financial coaching. When I first met her, I was her perfect candidate. I was stupid, young, naive. I didn't know what I was doing with money. I would get paid. I'd be broke the next day.
Yep.
Barely paid rent, never paid my credit card, had horrible credit. Then I met her and she's like, okay, what do you want to do? I want to buy a home.
Yeah.
And it was like, I had horrible credit, but we figured it out. And she said, okay, this is what you need to do. You need to give me your paycheck. I'll take over your bills. I'll pay down your bills. I'll give you $20 a week. And then eventually we'll get to the point where we'll be able to afford a down payment. And we got into a massive fight. Like, no way. There's no possible way. And finally I came to my senses, like, you know what? I have to live underneath my means. I have to start becoming an adult. I have to start being responsible. And, probably a year and a half later, we got to the point where we could barely afford a 5% down payment. And we had something called an 85-15 back there, 85-15-5. So I had 5% down, 80% first, 15% second, and had horrible interest rates, but we got in. We bought a
Yeah.
house, and we were living on ramen for a while, but we made it. And then within 6 months, the market went up enough. We refinanced, and now that was our first house. We never touched equity. And then we bought this house here, and we took all the equity out of that house, put it into this house, and bought this for like $690. We had like $200,000 down. We paid off our loan, and now we're good. We're happy.
Yeah.
That was a long road, and for many
Yes.
years we were skimping and scraping, trying to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
But that's what homeownership is,
Yes.
right? I tell that story to all my buyers because I want them to understand that you might be making more money. The numbers are different, but you have to be responsible. You have to, because this is like having a kid, right? You have to pay it every month. You have to feed your kid every day.
Yes. No, it's true. That's great. So your wife does a little financial consulting, and so that keeps you mindful every time you're in front of a client, thinking about their finances. And that's how I'm always thinking of them. I'll have clients that I'll be doing a refinance for them, and they'll say, what is the one thing they want to do when they refinance? Lower the rate. And I said, all right, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's two things we need to think about here. You get financially naked when you see your lender. So I know what's going on financially with you. And if I don't see a lot of money in the bank, that worries me. Yeah, it's great to lower your payment. That might help. But everyone knows that, you should have money in the bank, reserves, we call it, right? And I like minimum 3, but I prefer 6 months times your monthly bills. And what does that mean? You write down every bill that you have that you pay. And you figure out that number, and you multiply it times 3. And we need to pull some cash out, stick it in the bank for emergencies, because that keeps you out of debt when emergencies come up. And the second thing I always think about for them, because they're not going to think about it. What happens when we refinance a loan that someone's had for 6 or 7 years? Back to the beginning, right? Yep. Recast. So I say, listen, here's the deal. I'm looking out for you. We're going to go on. If we're doing this 30-year, because that's the payment you want, I'm going to show you how to pay it off in 27 years. So you stay on track. And they're like, oh, wow, we can do it. Yeah, it's not too hard. In fact, your rate went down. Not anymore. The rates have gone up, but a few months back, right? The rates went down, and they were actually having the same payment, but they were on a 27-year track, or even freeing up cash flow.
Right.
And that, to me, is what's fun about the job, is how can I help them long term, and they're not even thinking about these things. And that is what a professional does versus an order taker. That's what you do with your clients. You look out for them. You think of the things that they're not thinking about, because they're new buyers. They're caught up in the excitement of just owning a home. And you're like, yeah, but I know the pitfalls, and we're going to hit them head on. And I do that in my job. You do it in yours. And that's where the reward comes, is saving their butt and preparing them for a better life as a homeowner.
Right. Like the young couple that we're talking about, they're buying down in Morgan Hill and Gilroy. Every time I talk to them, I'm like, look, this might hurt my chances of making commission, but that's not the point. I understand that I have your best interest in mind, and that's what I need you to understand. I might scare you away, and you might not want to buy a house. You might wind up wanting to move to Tennessee, and I'm completely in support of that. Whatever it is, at the end of the day, if I help you, great. If I teach you, great. So I saw him last week, and we went down to Gilroy and looked at a house on 5th Street, and it was awesome. It was older, but it was like exactly what they wanted. I'm like, okay, understand, this is where we are. This is where the market is, and we're thinking that the market's going to start doing this a little bit. So make that decision. Understand that if you buy now, it probably will lose some value, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But keep that in mind. And I'm not scaring them. I'm educating them from everything I know, because I live, breathe, and sleep this, as you do. Yep. And that's what we're supposed to do, right? I'm not commission breath. I don't care if they buy or sell. I want them to know everything that I know so that they can make that decision. And I will be rewarded, because they may or may not, but they'll also say, hey, buddy, you need to talk to Vito. You need to talk to Scott, because these guys, they know what they're talking about. They're not going to just try to slam you into a house.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. And it happens a lot out there, doesn't it? And that's why a lot of customers don't understand why getting referred is so important, from someone that you know, like, and trust.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of people go on the internet and they search for the lender, or they search for the realtor or whatever. And, you know, I that's just, the internet has made it so easy now to get your quote unquote professional. But I think, what you just said was the way you're treating a customer, even if you don't help them, that just sends your integrity like through the roof. That person now wants to go tell 2 or 3 other people, hey, you know what? He told me it wasn't right to buy. He didn't get paid. Wow. He must care about me. He must know this isn't right now. And your stock just goes up. And that's that feeling of going home at the end of the day knowing I'm taking care of people.
Right.
Whether I got paid or not on, you know, 2 out of 4 deals or whatever. Hey, yeah, we're in this business to make money, but we're in this business to take care of people, which then takes care of our paycheck for our family. And sometimes it's okay to say it's not right now.
Right.
And I do it as well. And it's the right thing to do, you know?
But you've been in the business long enough that you know who's coachable and who you can work with, who you can trust on every side, right? Because I have to deal with buyer's agents, or I have to deal with listing agents, and then I have to also deal with clients.
Yes.
Where you're dealing with the client, and then you have to deal with, you know, the online 3% lower rate promiser guy that disappears and you can't close his deal because, you know, he doesn't know what he's doing and he doesn't know how to educate you. You're at least going to sit there and spend time with them and understand every aspect of it and coach them.
Yes.
And then they'll go to like a new home place and they'll be promised like $5,000 in closing costs, and they'll go with them. And, you know, but here's the thing, that person that closes them on that loan with the $5,000 thing, they don't care. They don't care about that person. They're not going to spend time with them. No. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to come back to you and say, hey, I need to refinance.
Yeah. And that's always rewarding. You know, for me anyway, it's sometimes I almost forget at the end of a transaction that I'm going to get a paycheck in a couple of days. I don't see it. My wife handles it just like yours says. I never even see it. Right. All I know is I'm serving people, and I'm literally bummed at the end if, you know, they just don't say what a great experience it was or how awesome it was, even though I may have heard it all the way through. It's like, all right, we got to the finish line. You know, I want to know that they think highly enough of me that they made the right decision in hiring me to help them. Like it's that kind of, those words is the reward in for me in my business anyway.
Right.
That's what gets me jazzed to keep going, you know, is knowing that I did a great job for this person. And I always thank them. I say, you know, you could have chose anybody, but you put your faith and confidence in me. So thank you. And just be humble. I don't think there's enough gratitude in our industry and humbleness. And I think there needs to be, because there's a lot of choices for these clients out there. And thank goodness that, you know, we both, I hope, you know, I feel we take good enough care that other people tell other people about us, and that becomes your reputation, and it serves us. It serves our family.
Yep.
Puts food on our table. But we gotta be humble and be grateful for every transaction. I never forget each client that comes to me. I always tell them, look, I may have been doing this 25 years, but I feel like it's my first day. I'm that thankful that I get to be in front of you, and you've chosen me to take you through this, you know, this financial journey. And I'm going to do everything I can to give you a great experience. And that's really what it's about, you know, for me anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I think you said something about, you know, you don't know or something, right? There's that quadrant of knowing and not knowing. And we have to act like Sherpas and understand that we have to stop every day and remind our clients where they are and what the next step is and what their strategy is and how to get going. And, you know, when you're dealing with 3 or 4 clients, you probably work on 8 to 10 clients at any time, or probably even more.
Sometimes.
You have to stop and just make sure that we're centered and present and with them and understanding them, because the next comment or the next topic that we're talking about
Yeah.
is the market and rates.
Yeah.
What happens when, right?
Yeah.
How do you talk people off the fence, right? Or
Yeah.
let's say that you were in contract with a client, and all of a sudden they can only qualify with a 5.5% rate. What do you do?
You know, it's funny. I have this just before we started shooting here. I got an email. I get an email from this client. He's a really great guy, him and his wife, and they're new buyers, so they're nervous Nellies. They're upper echelon though. I mean, they're looking up in the 2.5 range, 2.5 million range, putting a million down, but they're nervous, and they're every time they go to make an offer, I don't think they want to push higher, which is what's been required the last 3 months to get an offer accepted. So they push a little bit, but not so much that, they get the deal accepted. There's someone that just keeps outbidding them. And I keep telling them, you got to be all in, because if the market keeps going up, you're going to have to pay it one way or the other when you eventually do buy, because now all the homes have gone up in value. But anyway, because the rates have now gone up too, I have to keep doing new scenarios for him to get him to qualify. And the purchase price keeps coming down that he can now qualify for, because the rates keep going up. And I'm pushing it to the 49.9 ratio, or these are jumbo. So we're going 49.9 or 44.99 on one product. Another one's 42.99, where you got to be under 43. And it's becoming challenging for a lot of clients that didn't get their offers accepted early on. Good news for a lot of these buyers, and you can talk more about prices of homes because you're the expert there, but I'm seeing less and less offers. So there's a better chance to get your offer accepted now, but on a home that's more expensive than it would have been had you got it 3 or 4 months ago, when you weren't offering the amount of money you needed to. And it's a learning experience for a new buyer. They have to go through it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, is like everybody expected this market to start stalling. We just didn't know when. The fact that we have high inflation, record high inflation, high gas prices, we have record high, well, not record high. We have record high inflation for sure.
I think it's record high gas prices right now nationwide, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, right? And then we see the stock market taking a dump. A lot of my clients work for high-tech companies, and they're like, hey, Vito, I know I was going to buy that $3 million house, but we're going to have to wait.
Yeah.
Because my down payment just disappeared.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll keep in touch with you. That's
Yeah.
what I can do. Right. And then we have other people too, and they're like struggling because they're on the lower end of the spectrum. They're very well paid, but they're not being paid Silicon Valley high-tech income.
Yes.
And they're struggling, and they're like, well, what should we do? Like, here's what my suggestion is. Keep looking at houses, seeing what's out there. Understand that houses are going to sit on the market a little bit longer. You're not going to see massive discounts right away. You'd be lucky if you do. If you see a house sit on the market for 10, 15 days, then you can go in and say, hey, let's go find a house. Let's go buy that house. You don't have to go 100,000, 200,000 over. In Santa Clara County, the highest over list price was in Palo Alto. It's $2.1 million over list price. It was a $3.8 million house.
Unbelievable.
It's like 53% higher.
Oh my God.
Right? I mean,
yeah,
that's ridiculous. I would never tell my client to do that.
No.
I don't have those type of clients where it's like, I have $1 billion in the bank. I don't care. Just buy that house, whatever it takes.
It's almost like a competition for people at that level. I just want to win. I got the money to win. I'm Elon Musk. I'm going to go buy Twitter, so it goes down a little or whatever, Yeah. But to your point of, what do you tell clients, about maybe they're a little afraid to jump in or whatever. You hit on something about, this is Silicon Valley. This is the mecca of income in this nation. Income is not going away. Jobs are not going away. There's no .com bus coming here. where home prices are going to collapse because of underlying problems with mortgages that are written with no income and all arms and interest only and no down payments. And no, there's a lot of security and wealth in homes right now. And the other factor was they didn't go, it's not loaded with people that went and bought 3 or 4 rental properties in addition to their home that they own. So we're fine there. So I tell clients this, if they're a little afraid, I eliminate that fear that's not going to happen. The next thing I say is, well, do you got to pay to live somewhere? And then yeah, well, what's your rent? Oh, I'm paying $3,500 a month. Okay, so you're lighting that on fire every month. And every month that goes by in your life is 1 month of you not paying down a mortgage, right? And getting the tax deduction on it, right? And being a homeowner and all the joy that comes with that. Rates are in the low 5s right now. Did you know they were at 18% one day, right? I say, listen, securing the property, getting into contract, property acquisitions, number one. You will get one shot at that. You get many shots at refinancing your loan to a better rate one day when they come back down again.
Yep.
Who cares? But don't let the fear that the rates are higher, or if you can afford the home and it's going to be comfortable for you, it's going to be a great investment buying in the Silicon Valley for years to come. Don't worry about the higher rates right now, as long as you can afford it. And they usually go, you know what? Yeah, that makes sense. You got to walk them through it, right? And that's what a teacher does, right? The teacher knows the answer to the question ahead of time. So ask the question, get their answer, then help them see the right answer.
The right answer. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think what we're going to see is a little bit of a shuddering. This is, US wide, the nationwide, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm from Canada, but I don't know Canada economy. Seeing the market crash, the stock market crash, we're seeing the rates go up. I think we're going up to 6% at the end of this month. Is that still a thing?
Well, we're on I'll kind of with my hand do a little graph. For the last couple months, we've been kind of going like this. And we just got to where we're just starting to, the little hook right now. That's kind of just like this right here. But the Fed is still going to be raising. We know that. That does not mean that mortgage rates follow that exactly. That's a whole nother video we can do one day. But from what I'm reading, it's possible we'll be at 7% mortgage rates by the end of the year, the way the Fed is going to be raising with inflation. So
buy now.
Yeah. So I know it's, and the hard thing for people like you and I is when we tell a client that, we're really educating them, but some of them may think we're pressuring them to buy. And we kind of are, but not for our benefit. It's for their benefit, so it's just how you approach letting them know. That's why every time I'm putting together my numbers for clients, if they're refinancing or getting a contract, I'm now using a graph. I bring the graph into my video and I show them what's happening so they see it. It's not me just telling them, no, here's the data.
Right.
And when you do that, I think the word social proof, or whatever it is, but I'm letting them know this is real data I'm giving you. This is where we are, and this is what's happening in the market. And you can see the trend. And this is for your benefit, that I'm showing you this, because it will be more expensive for that home going forward.
Yeah.
So
my question to you is, with all this stuff going on, inflation, gas, rates going up, stock market going down, with all that and the fact that we might see 7%, what happens in 2 or 3 weeks when you see corporations, big and small, talking about layoffs?
Well, that will cause a problem, obviously, because, just through the years of doing this, I know whenever a client was as motivated as they can be to buy a home, the minute there was rumblings around the office that there might be layoffs, the first thing they do is call me and say they're putting things on hold, because they don't know what's coming their way, and they're fearful they're going to get caught into something that they're not going to get out of. So my first conversation always is, how employable are you if that was to happen?
Mhm.
You have to live somewhere still, right? Payments aren't going away. Obviously, it's a little easier if you know, if you're real desperate times, you were renting. Of course, you could go live with someone and not have a payment at all. But it is real fear for somebody, and I know it would be for me if I heard that and I was salaried. We jumped into the crazy self-employed business. That was scary enough, right? Just doing that in itself. But our mindset is we wake up every day unemployed, right?
Mhm.
We're the lion out in the jungle, not the lion in the zoo, getting a steak slapped in front of it every morning, twice, and afternoon. We got to go hunt. So we're resilient. We're going to do that. But someone that's salaried, they don't have another way to earn income unless they get hired again. So it can cause a real problem for especially for buyers that um, we're going to take the plunge. They're going to think twice about it now,
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Uh,
And if that happens, that really starts to affect the home prices.
that's what I wanted to lead to.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, and we've been doing this a while. So, past performance is surely no indicator of future, whatever they say.
Yeah.
At the
Yeah.
end of the day, all this stuff is a big, huge sign of what's going on. And I listen to the positives and the negatives, trying to figure out where we are in the happy beat. I listen to Chicken Little screaming about how the sky is falling. I listen to Peter Schiff. I listen to a lot of different economists of what's going on, especially local, and real estate economists and all this stuff. And nobody's talking about the layoff thing. Nobody is. Schiff is a little bit. He's a more Chicken Little kind of guy.
Yeah.
And you have to take everything you hear with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's going to be an issue for some of us with pricing.
Mm-hmm.
But here in the valley, if you're an engineer or you're C-level or you're in marketing, you're very employable. You can get a
Yes.
job somewhere else in a heartbeat.
Yes.
That's not going to hurt anybody. But there's going to be just like in 2008, the numbers were devastating because we didn't have equity in the homes,
That's
right?
right.
They were the ninja 0% downs. As long as you fogged up a mirror, we can get you into a house, no problem. And we were talking about it, right? I'm sure you were. I didn't know
Yeah.
you back then, but
Yeah.
we're like, hey, you know what? Maybe those option arms aren't a great deal. You should really think about it. Don't go crazy. And people bought into it. So because we have equity in these homes,
Yes.
right? And a lot of them are mostly at least 20%, right? Some are
Yes.
10, some are
Yes.
5, like
That's right.
when I started out.
Yeah. Me
If
too.
I had gotten laid off with my 5% down in my home, I don't know if I would have stayed around.
Mm-hmm.
Even though if prices recede 5%, I surely have absolutely no reason to stick around. I don't think it's going to happen here.
No.
And if it does, it's going to be on such a minor scale. It's going to be less than 1%.
I agree 100% with you.
Because people are so employable and there's so many people looking for employees, right?
Yes.
Even though they might lose their job recs, they might have to lay off people. Those people are going to go somewhere else and get a job in a heartbeat. I think it's the Midwest. We haven't talked about the Sun Belt where institutional buyers, Blackhawk, Vanguard, all these guys are buying up 30% of the inventory from Arizona to Florida. But St. Louis, Indianapolis, all these other places where people are buying in and they're like getting caught up in the wave and like, oh yeah, I'll just buy this house and put 10% over this or 5% over. And what's the worst that can happen? Well, the worst can happen is you put 10% over and then you're at 5% equity, and then the wave comes back in and sucks everything out, and all of a sudden you lose all that equity and then you get laid off. You're going to go live with mom and dad.
That's right.
So I think there is going to be a little bit of a retraction.
Yeah.
And we might see it a little bit here. But
yeah,
I can tell you from last time in 2008, we lost, a couple $100,000. We were talking about, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? Well, just hold on to it because it'll come back. Okay. But there's many people that bought around my area that lost their houses. In Palo Alto, it actually went up. It went up like 300,000.
Isn't that ironic that it did? Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. So,
it's interesting that the homes did exactly what people do with the stock market when it drops, panic sell, right? And then if you just kept buying shares, you had more money once it came back, yeah. And then some. But and that's that's the people that walked away because they just didn't want to have a loss. There were actually people that couldn't afford it because they did lose their jobs.
Because they lost their jobs, right?
And they didn't have a choice.
2008, I was like, we need to buy houses. We need to buy houses. And Jill's like, we don't have any money. What are you talking about? We're broke. Well, we're not broke, but we're barely hanging on. And I'm like, but we need to buy houses. I didn't have enough for a down payment. And I knew this was coming. And I positioned myself to where I'm ready for this. And, you have to take advantage of the down market. And unfortunately, people are going to lose their ass. But at the same time, I've seen this coming. I've been waiting for this to come for the last 5 years. I don't think it's going to be bad here. But, you just went to Florida. Where'd you go?
So went to Fort Myers.
Okay.
And, you being military like myself, it was awesome to see all the American flags flying, and it was so patriotic there on that Gulf Coast. Luckily, it wasn't humid. We're in the time where it was 85 degrees. It felt like it here right now. I didn't feel like I really left California from that standpoint. It was beautiful there. Enjoyed it. I took a little trip down to Naples, just down south of Fort Myers, and Marco Island, just kind of check those areas out. Really, just vacation-y feel. Everybody looked happy. It was really neat to be down there. That Naples area is some of those homes are, my gosh, it looks like Tony Montana lives in every residence.
Isn't it crazy?
Nuts.
I had no idea it was that expensive.
There's, I think, gosh, some of those homes are $25 million, that you're driving around. It's really, really, really crazy. It was nice to just get away for a few days. I was there, obviously, I think I'd shared with my son, he was getting a medical procedure, but we had a few hours before we had to fly back. And, I was talking to somebody, I think it was in the hotel, and they were giving me a stat that, was it 10 or no, it was 20,000 people are moving there a month from other states. So real estate prices are now starting to really go up in Florida because there's so much demand there right now. And
I think I've missed the boat there, to be honest with you. So we're actually staying in Cape Coral for a week or so, just to check out the area, right? See because I've never been there. Jill's never been there. I've been to the Atlantic coast many, many times. I like it there. I have a good friend who I served with in Flagler County. Great place. I love Georgia. I love South Carolina, North Carolina, just amazing people. Florida's attractive to me because of no income tax, right? They're a little more right-leaning than I choose to be, but the income tax and the fact that you can live near the water for, half a California cost is attractive.
Yeah.
But,
that aspect of being near the water is attractive, Yeah. They say Florida's heaven's waiting room.
Because all the old people go there to die.
That's right.
And I'm not to get into politics or anything, but what we're seeing here, I don't see it as a left or right type of thing. I see it as policymakers coming in, trying to do the best they can with the laws and rules that have been done over the last 200 years or 100 years or whatever. and it's like an onion of policies, right? And they're like, well, we can't do that. We can't do this. We can't do that. We can do this, but it's going to cost you 10 times what it would be, whatever. Or we have the homeless issues. I don't think there's many homeless issues in Florida.
No, not many. Not like it is here.
Because we don't have high taxes over there that go to pay for that problem or that issue that we think we're taking care of, but we're not taking care of it because we're just giving people fish.
Yes.
Instead of teaching them how to fish.
Well said. Right? I use that one a lot. Absolutely.
And
it's the truth. It's really the truth. Isn't that the root of everything? I mean, are you dignified if someone's handing you a fish all the time? There's no dignity there. Now, some people have to have fish handed to them because they're far gone with, drug addiction problems or psychological issues. But I really believe that there's dignity in work, in helping others, and teaching that. And that's what we were talking about earlier, wasn't it? Was teaching our clients, right? We're teaching them how to fish in a sense, and in protecting them and teaching them about home ownership and the pitfalls that are coming their way that they need to know about. That's giving them dignity in becoming a homeowner,
or becoming more of an adult, right?
Yes.
We're becoming, and going back to that whole thing is like, if I give you a fish, if I feed you, if I give you healthcare, if I give you a phone, if I give you, whatever, everything, where's your need to become an adult?
Yes.
And
that's true.
I don't know. I just say goodbye to my son because he's going to work right now. He's 19 years old, and I had that conversation with him. And that's the problem here. It's like we want to. I feel like the policymakers. I don't say politicians. I say policymakers.
Yeah.
Because both sides who are in power are making policies.
That's right.
For their own means.
That's right.
The policymakers here are doing it so that they get their votes.
Yes, it's 100% true.
Right.
It's so refreshing when someone actually goes to at the state level or the federal level and says what they're going to do.
Right.
And then does it for the people, not for themselves.
Yeah.
There's so many people that go there. I think that's idealistic. They think they're going there for the people, and then they get converted. The pressures are
pressure, right. I think the way you have to look at politics today, and actually I have a council member who's terming out, and I'm teaching him how to be a real estate agent on my team. And we don't see eye to eye, but we have great debates, very respectful. And I don't have a problem conceding to a lot of his concepts because, sure. I lean both left and right. But I think if you're going to be a successful politician, the best way to be is not worry about who's buying your seat, not worry about the constituents that are yelling and screaming, but doing the right thing for humanity and falling upon your sword and being a one-term politician. And that's where you're going to win. People that have this mentality, like in Congress, where you're in there for 47 years and what do? It's pathetic.
This guy, it's sick. It's not a career. That's a career for somebody. You don't go there for a career. At least you shouldn't.
And that's not how it was set up to be. And who am I to say? I'm an immigrant from Canada.
Yeah.
I became a citizen.
Well, welcome.
Yeah. I pay my taxes. I haven't served on jury duty, but I pay my taxes. I served in the military. Who the hell am I?
Yeah.
I'm just a regular guy. But I tell you, Sergio asked me to run with him because he's terming out. He's like, I want you to take my seat next time he's out. I'm like, look, that's such an honor. I appreciate you thinking of me. It really means a lot to me. But I know what my wife is going to say. So not only no, but beep, no.
Yeah. Right? I hear you on that.
Yeah,
there's we were talking about just teaching people to fish and all that. Here's I don't know about you, but I find that sometimes you're driving on the road and you're listening to the radio and there's someone, that you admire that's talking on the radio, and you just get nuggets of information that stick with you. They say something. And one of the individuals I listen to a lot, I won't name him, but one of his things that he said, and I pulled over and wrote it down, which is well said. He says, most parents today teach their kids to be good students, not good people. And I 110% agree with that. Doesn't mean that they're not loving their kid or what have you, but have you coached kids in sports or mentored or?
I was a baseball coach, but
Okay.
assistant coach, because I knew I could never coach my kid.
Okay.
Yeah,
I loved it.
Kids, right?
Yeah, I coached football, basketball, baseball, and
Yeah.
you just see all kinds of situations and with kids, and it's just you see the ones that are just pushed too hard in school academically, and you see others that are just they have no respect for their coach or their parents. You see how they talk to them. I first day in my practice, I always took care of all that right away. And I taught values, and I taught them how to. I said, you're going to be a father one day. You're going to be a husband one day. You're going to be all these things. And I really believe that the most important job in the world is the parent. And most of the problems that we have, and I know we're getting now into a whole nother area of spectrum, but we kind of think alike in this area, is
abortion,
parenting. Number one.
Parenting.
Think about it. You can take a child in a really bad situation with bad parenting, and if you could do a study where you move the kid over to another set of parents, you'd have a completely different child out the other end. And those are the citizens that now we work with and interact with, and that go to represent us, in Congress and the Senate and everything else, and become our leaders locally and everything else. But parenting is, to me, where all the influence comes in who you're going to be. And I wish more parents would take it more serious, because it is a huge deal, the impact that you make on the child for those 18 years. If you're lucky to have a child live with you for 18 years, a lot of what we see going bad in the world, if you were to dive back into that youth's upbringing, you would probably find there was some lack of parenting there.
Oh yeah. I mean, I always make fun of my wife, because she was always, Myrtle from Bewitched. I don't know, the neighbor that was really nosy, but she was always like keeping track of my son.
That's
and
right.
When he got his license, he just took off, and he would go do things. He had his girlfriend. He'd go up and see her in Pleasanton or Livermore, and then they'd go to the beach. They'd go to Berkeley. They'd do all this stuff, and she's like on the phone. Going, what is he doing there? What is he shouldn't be that far away. I'm like, let him go.
Yeah.
Gladys, I think was his name. Gladys, let her go. Let him go. Let him be who he is. We had his time to teach him the right things and show him the right things. And, I want to say about 6-7 months ago, I told you that I adopted the park that's down the street from me. And we would
very cool. Yes.
Park cleanups, drag the kids there, kicking and screaming. The Dad, the other day I was hanging out with my friends, and they threw down some soda can or something. I'm like, okay. He goes, well, I went over there and I picked it up and I put it in the garbage. I go, okay. And my friends made fun of me. I go, well, why did they make fun of you? Because they're like, somebody else is going to pick it up. And he goes, no, you know what? Nobody else is going to pick it up. It's up to you to be a steward of our community. And
that's awesome.
Something like that, right? Because those are my words, but
sure.
Like,
isn't that awesome?
Actually worked.
Isn't that awesome? So, and that's influence. You influenced your son to have such high character, and then he's going to now go. Whether he knows it or not, he influenced those friends that may have chuckled and made fun of him.
Yeah,
they walked away going, he did the right thing. I just thought it wasn't cool to let him know it.
Right.
But he's going to think about it, or they're going to think about it. So good on you for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my favorite stories I tell about him, because, I hated him when he was a kid. He was such a little bastard. And, I didn't not love him. I just hated him. because he was such an
They
asshole.
say, I don't like you. I love you. Right?
All the way up until like a senior year. And I was like, once you graduate high school, you need to either go to school full time, get a full time job, or move out. You can join the military, you can go whatever, but he's like, no, you know what you're talking about. All of a sudden, Jill said, when you graduate high school, you need to have a full time job, you need to go to school full time, or you're going to go pay rent somewhere else.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's like, oh, I think they're serious. And then he found a girlfriend, the girl up in Livermore, and all of a sudden he turned into this really amazing, sweet young man, right? Because he's 19 now, but he was 18 then. And he pushed us, right? He's at De Anza, and he pushed us a couple times. Like, oh, I hate these classes. I'm just going to quit. And I'll go, okay. You're going to start paying rent. Where are you moving out to? What's your plan? And then he did the same thing to Jill. She did the same thing without his. And all of a sudden, it was like, oh shit, I better figure this out. I better start really, and it's just him evolving into an adult. And it's nice to watch him do that, even though he's a pain in the ass.
When it early happens is they're testing you, but that's them learning to communicate and to show that they're becoming an adult in a way. And when it really changes for them is when that safety net is removed and they do have to go out in the world and realize just how cold this world is. And mom and dad really shielded me from everything. And wow, did the memories come flooding back, and the respect for, mom and dad of all they've done. And now you get to see it. And that's when you get floored when they throw the can in the garbage or come back and say something really mature that you've never heard them say. It's like, all that paid off. They got it, Yeah.
And all that sacrifice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Good memories.
Totally.
Well, Scott, we got to do this again. We're over an hour, and I know I promised you an hour. So
imagine what these guys get to do that talk about sports. I mean, every day and get paid for it. How fun would that be? This was fun in itself.
It didn't even it felt like 15 minutes because
I looked down. I said it was already like 1:43, and I'm like, where did the time go?
It's crazy how time flies when you're having fun. I guess that's true adage.
Yeah. So I appreciate you having me on today. It was a lot of fun. Thank you. Great information. I hope the audience got a lot out of it and learned a few things today.
Yeah, I think it was really good to see two sides of what's going on with the economy and what happens if the market does crash or when the market does crash. So I think it's really good to have a candid idea. And what I'd like to do is maybe every month for sure. But if something drastic or anything major happens, like the Fed's announced a 6% interest rate, let's jump on this again and talk about what's going on. And let's tell the future.
That's right. I'll throw my magic 8-ball.
There you go. Magic 8-ball. I'll break out my crystal ball.
Yeah.
All right, Scott. We'll see you on the next one.
Hey, sounds good. And thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
You got it.
You squid.
I'm sorry, Ed.